This is episode 58, The Desire Curve, How Loss Can Be Your Greatest Gain. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me for a few minutes. So I want to have a conversation today that I think is going to resonate with all of us that at any point in our life have ever felt that we lost something or that something was taken away from us. And I'm sure most of you out there can relate to probably many times in our life where we've been in that situation where we feel like something was taken or we were experiencing a loss and everything that comes wrapped around that feeling. And I want to explore that a little bit and maybe offer a shift in perspective on the story or the script we often tell ourselves when we're in that situation. But before we get to what I mean, I want to tell a quick story if that's okay with y'all. So yesterday, I sold one of my cars, an older one, my Range Rover Sport, which for over a decade was like my adventure mobile. That was the car that anytime we were going on a road trip or doing any sort of activity, would throw the surfboards in, the paddleboards on top, the mountain bikes on the back, the snowboards inside, and had so many awesome experiences and trips in that vehicle. So many awesome memories. But it was time to go. Picked up a new Ford Raptor, my first truck. For all of you who don't know much about trucks, it's kind of like a race car wrapped into a full-size truck. That thing is insane. So stoked on the new family adventure mobile. With pandemic, we're doing a lot more road trips as a family and want to keep the experiences going. So I'm excited about that. But point of the story is yesterday, went to sell the car, was referred to the CarMax lot, which I wasn't familiar with. Was amazed how simple it was to sell a car. The process was super easy. You go in, they go through a little inspection, and they give you an appraisal on the spot. So I'm sure it was a lowball offer because obviously they make a profit, but if you're looking to save time, it was super efficient. So I went through the process yesterday, and as we're kind of unpacking all the stuff out of the car and ready to hand over the keys, my son Grayson got super emotional. Probably the most emotion I've seen him in terms of losing something. And he started getting upset that he didn't want to give away the car and wanted to keep the car, and was running up and in tears, like hurt tears, not like tantrum tears. And he was hugging the car, which was interesting because it's not even the car that we drive very often. And it gave me an opportunity to teach him a lesson, both Karis and I, on how losing things is a good thing, and how we got to keep the memories and everything it did, and how now letting that go gave us the opportunity of a brand new adventure mobile and where we're gonna go and the experiences we're gonna have. But it got me thinking a lot about this topic of kind of loss, or we're in times where we think things are being taken away. And not only how that applies maybe to like things in our personal life and far more than kids, but how I've seen kind of a similar pattern in life and in business when it comes to people that I've worked with over the last couple decades as entrepreneurs, and how the core, I think, of this feeling has to do with desire. And I'll explain what that means, but it really comes down to a desire. And specifically a pattern I've seen of 5 different phases that we can all go through when it comes to us having this desire, or often losing this desire. And I want to talk about those phases. So desire. Guys, at the core of everything, when it comes to progress and movement, growth, advancement, elevation, becoming, having, attaining, desire. You go back to Think and Grow Rich, which is kind of the holy grail for the entrepreneurs. How many of you guys have read the book, Napoleon Hill? If not, you got to grab it. The beginning chapters are all about a burning desire. And everything starts there. Guys, desire is the battery. Desire is the energy. Desire is the drive. There's nothing wrong with the emotion or feeling to want. To aspire to have. And everything starts there. So, I'm gonna take a seat here. So everything starts with a burning desire. You see, a burning desire is the beginning point. It is the starting point. It is what makes you move. For 2 reasons, really. A burning desire is what's going to give you the ignition. It's what's going to give you the energy in order to do all the other things you need to do to go to the next phase, right? Desire means you're going to seek to learn. Desire means you're going to work to advance. Desire means you're going to put in the time. Desire means you're going to be persistent and consistent. Desire means you're going to have the resilience. Desire is what fuels all of the things you need in order to get what you want, to move toward a vision for yourself. And then beyond all of the tangible or the skills, desire also is what gives you the X factor, the edge, right? Call it the law of attraction, call it a frequency, call it a vibration. When you have a burning desire, you start to attract the opportunity, the people, the solutions, right, around you to move you forward. You see, everything starts at a nucleus, right, of desire. And when your desire level gets to a point that all those things start to happen, you move into kind of the first phase. And the first phase I've seen in this consistent pattern is the rise, right? When you have a burning desire and you do all the things I just said, you move into a trajectory where you begin to rise. You begin, right, to accumulate. You begin to get. You begin to receive, right? How many of you have been in a place where you desired something? You put in the work, you put in the time, it pushed you forward, and you started to see a result. You started to see a progress. You started to get the things that you want. We've all been there. And that's an exciting place to be when you're in the rise, where you start to get the things that maybe you once wished for, once, dreamed of, and it starts to become a reality. Like, that's a victory, that's a win, like that's a fun place to be. But there's an interesting thing that happens in the rise. once you start to rise and you start to grow, yes, it's fun. Yes, you start to accumulate. Yes, you start to get. But what happens is as you start to receive the very things that you desired, that desire energy starts to go down or starts to diminish. Matter of fact, actually, when you're in the rise, a lot of times your desire level starts to go down. And so often we don't notice it because when we're in that phase of everything's working, we're getting what we want, right? We're celebrating, we're happy. Maybe some of the worries and the stresses and the anxiety start to go away. It's like, this is what I've worked for. But what you don't realize is happening behind the scenes is your desire level starts to diminish. And if that desire level starts to go down for too long, even when you're on the rise, you hit a second phase. And a second phase I've seen a lot of people hit throughout my career. I've hit many times throughout my life, and I'm willing to bet you've found to be true in your own experience. And that phase 2 is what I'll call a plateau. And a plateau is where all of a sudden maybe you stop getting or receiving at the same level that you were during the rise. And when you're in the plateau, you think it has to do with what you're doing in that moment or the actions in that moment. You don't realize that the plateau is a result of a diminishing desire at some point previously in the past. And that might be months, right, or even years right behind you. While you were still in the rise, the desire diminished, and that is why you hit a plateau. And if you're in a plateau for long enough and that desire is not restored, inevitably what happens in our life is we go through a next phase, and the next phase I'll call a fall. And the fall, as you can tell just by the term, is when that curve starts to go down. And this is where we get to where I started the conversation. When you go through a fall is when you are now in a place in life where you feel like things are being taken away. You feel like you are losing something. And that's an interesting feeling to be in when you're in that fall of now you are losing things you perceived you once had, right? Things are being quote unquote taken from you that you once had in your grasp. And you guys, that phase right there is a very interesting phase, because that phase you can really receive a couple different ways. And a lot of people, when they're in that phase, we experience loss. I think about my son when all of a sudden something was, being taken away from him, and all he could focus on was what he was losing, was the loss, was, the feeling of something being taken away, something he had that he'll no longer have. And in our life, we go through that a lot, right? When all of a sudden things that we had in our grasp are no longer there. And we perceive that as a negative, right? We perceive that as a problem. Sometimes we get stuck in the victim mentality of why is this happening to me? Sometimes we slip into a depression, right, in that scenario because we are in a state of loss. And I'll tell you, the longer we stick in that type of perception, the longer we stay in the fall. The longer we start to focus on things that are being taken away as a negative or as a problem, the further down we will fall. The more we're worried about what we are losing, the more we will lose. The more we feel like things are being taken away as a negative, the more things will be taken away. How many of you have ever been in this situation or felt this situation before? But here's a little different perspective. It's when you're back in the fall that your desire starts to refire. See, guys, the minute we have something and that something is taken from us, our desire is restored, the value is restored, our appreciation is restored. You see, it's in the loss or the losing that our desire starts to get reignited, starts to be a catalyst again. And sometimes we have to go through those falls in order to get the gift of our desire back. I'm sure we've all experienced this in our life when we have something, we took it for granted, and even the threat of it going away restored our appreciation or desire for it. Or maybe we had something and something was taken away, and that restored the desire for us to get it back. And when we got it back, man, we appreciated it more than ever before because we went through that fall or that loss. You guys see, what if the fall is actually a gift? What if the fall is actually the universe's way to make sure that it keeps our desire firing? And when you're in that fall, And that desire level starts to rebuild and rebuild and rebuild and rebuild, and eventually hits a point where you go through that next phase. And guys, the next phase is the turn, right? And the turn can happen as soon, right, or as late as that desire level starts to refill, as that desire tank, right, starts to refill. And as the desire tank starts to refill, you make the turn. And once you make the turn, you move back to the rise again. And what's interesting about the rise again is you're not starting from the same place you started before. You're starting from the place of experience. You're starting from the place of wisdom. You're starting from the place of having gone through what I'll call the desire curve, right? Of understanding the rise, understanding the plateau, understanding and experiencing the fall, understanding the turn. And now you get to rise again, not from where you began, but with all of the experience that you had having gone through that desire curve. So guys, I've seen that consistently. I've never heard it put in those phases, but that's me trying to communicate or articulate things I've seen throughout my own life. All right, I've seen it time and time again at simple levels on things you really, really want. And then once you get, the desire diminishes. And then you take it for granted until it's taken away. And then that desire gets restored, right? And if it doesn't get restored, you go through this fall. But once it gets restored, you go through this rise. It can happen in simple things in life. I've seen it happen in business time and time again, working with entrepreneurs, right? We talk all the time about, the victims of the obstacles that we all know, how overcoming rejection or overcoming failure or, persistence and all the things that it takes, right, to be successful and all the obstacles that can be in our way. But we don't talk enough about how many people can become a victim of their own success, how success itself can become the biggest problem. Because once you get there, I see so many people get there. They are successful. They make the money. They got the things. But they lose the desire that fueled them in the beginning. You guys having all the things and buying all the stuff, but losing the burning desire that it took to get there means you missed the point. And I see a lot of people become victims of their own success. Not because of the talent or skill, but because of this desire concept that they need to restore. I've lived it in my own life time and time and time again, where it's when you have the void, right, and you're in the chase that you feel the best, that you get there. And a lot of times when you have everything you want, can buy everything you want, can do everything you want, although it sounds, right, amazing, and I want all of you guys to experience this. You deserve to experience this for yourself. But hopefully you can take this guidance, if and when you get there, and I know you will, you don't lose the desire, because the desire is what's going to keep you going and keep that trajectory going up. So guys, wanted to share all that with you today, because I know right now we're at a time where it's very easy to perceive things being taken from you. It's very easy to perceive loss, right? It's very easy maybe to have had something a year ago or a couple years ago or earlier this year, and now all of a sudden, maybe we're going through that fall where we think it's a problem that it's being taken away, but maybe there's a shift we can make in how we approach all of this, that it's in the loss that creates the void that is the gift. And that gift has a chance to restore burning desire for what we want, right? That catalyst, that ignition that we need in order for us to make the turn and go on another rise that's going to be bigger and greater than ever before. So wanted to share that with you guys today. I'm going to get back and finish my run. One more view from the top. Beautiful day. Sun is out. Awesome time of the year. And hey, the desire curve. Where are you at right now? Do you have a burning desire? Are you on the rise? Right now you're on the rise, but maybe the desire isn't once what you had, and maybe you're heading toward a plateau because of it. Have you hit a plateau because you lost the desire a while back and now you're starting to fall? Are you in the middle of the fall, which is where you have to make the decision? Are you still focused on the why is me and the victim and what you may lose? Or maybe will you take the shift in the scripture story we're telling ourselves, and that void maybe is the gift you need right now to restore the desire for you to make the turn and rise again? Where are you at right now in your life, in your career, in your relationships? Hope everybody has an amazing day. Until next time we walk together, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, and here's to have a burning desire perpetually in our life to constantly drive us forward as we become who we're meant to. Take care, everybody.
Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.